This podcast is part of the Treksphere Network.
To find more Star Trek-related content, visit Treksphere.com. It's getting harder, by the way, both because there aren't nearly as many shows with opening narration as I thought there were, but...
Oh, did you find one?
Yeah, I mean, it's super short.
Well, that's a good thing. Because I feel like they were getting longer and longer. Okay.
All right, ready?
Yep.
What if you had tomorrow's news today?
Is that it?
That's it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What is that even from?
Early edition.
Oh.
With Kyle Chandler and Fisher Stevens. The guy who now very racistly played an Indian in Short Circuit.
Oh. I have a special place in my heart.
I know, me too. Movie. I totally love that guy.
For both of them, by the way. Both movies.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. I mean, I still, I don't say it as much anymore now that it's totally considered racist, but I still say his lines. Hello, honey. What is for dinner? And wouldn't you like to be a pepper too?
Yeah.
Those are two of the best lines. But he was also in Super Mario Brothers, the movie, which I was super excited about. I'm also in that movie.
You're in that movie?
I am in that movie.
Are you Luigi or Mario?
Yes, I am John Leguizamo. My family is the Leguizamos.
Oh.
It's a horrible movie, first off, and I'm in the very end of it. And so I really try to tell people early on, when I mention that I'm in that movie, I'm like, yes, I'm at the very end. You can either skip to the last 5 minutes of the movie, or you can suffer through the whole movie.
Wait, how old were you when you were in the movie?
11? 12?
Oh. Well, we're not going to be able to recognize you.
Well, because it's the upper half of my face, and your eyes don't really change until you get to be 70, according to Picard.
The show, or according to the character Picard?
Well, according to Patrick Stewart.
Oh, okay.
Ian McKellen has kind of still looked the same. Who else really? Christopher Lee really looked the same. But Patrick Stewart...
Maggie Smith is the queen of...
Looking the
same. She's been playing an 80-year-old since the 90s.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was early edition. So
very nice.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've seen that. Obviously, I haven't. Is there actually a narration where they say that? Or is that just the poster tagline?
Right. No. Yeah, that is the opening narration. I also looked up...
That's all it is?
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole premise of the show.
I phoned it in, though. You want a little bit something, okay, fine. You could have worked in Picard somehow.
What? No. What if you got tomorrow's news today?
See? Picard, comma, Picard.
Picard.
See? It's not hard.
Right? All right. Next time I'll throw in Picard basically every other word.
Okay.
What episode is this? Is this 6? This is episode 6,
206, right? And I neglected to write down what the actual name of the episode was. I have no idea.
It's either 2 of 1 or 2 for 1. I could not find the actual name of it.
Probably 2 of 1, because that's a Borg designation. 2 for 1 is popcorn.
Oh, good call. That's absolutely what it is, and I did not piece that together until you said it.
Yeah.
Well played, sir.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here.
Anyway, so yeah, this is Measure of an Episode, Star Trek edition, Picard edition, Season 2 edition, Episode 6 edition. I'm Jonathan.
Right. And I'm Paul. And in these, our continuing mission is to talk about Picard.
There you go. Here there be spoilers.
Yes.
We haven't said that for a while. So if you've been listening... What?
We've never said that in front of the episode, I don't think.
Yeah, we mentioned it in the first and I think third. Hey, we're talking about spoilers, so if you haven't watched it yet, go back.
Okay.
Turn back.
Should we talk about
We should talk about the episode.
No. Okay, we'll talk about the episode. The opening of the episode starts off with an infirm or a beat-up Picard. We don't know. It's sort of, he's in trouble. Picard is in trouble.
The episode started with 134 seconds.
Of recap?
Yep. They gave over 2 minutes to recap on this show that's streaming, and you can binge. You don't have to be like, oh man, what happened the last 4 episodes? I guess I'll never know. Oh, good thing they're giving me a recap. But they gave 50 seconds to Girardi's song, but I'm getting way ahead of myself.
Yep.
Okay, so he's in the infirm.
He
is infirmed.
and he's in the infirmary at a certain point.
Yes, but later. Don't get ahead of yourself.
I don't know. Like, I don't. Okay, so they have this format for this episode where they show you at the beginning of each act break the Picard in more trouble. Nothing changes.
No.
Right? I guess it's a lot of flashbacks
Yes.
of him and his mother. And we get little bits and pieces of more context as to what's going on. There's a certain point where we see sort of another person at that point, and it looks like a monster of some kind. I think a lot of people are theorizing that it's a Borg or the Borg. It looks very much like the skin of a Borg in that couple of flashes. I refuse to go back and like frame through it just to try and figure it out. I'm trying to experience it as designed.
Okay.
You know? But anyway, they have this format where it's like 34 minutes later, 24 minutes later, or earlier, 16 minutes earlier, that kind of thing. And I'm trying to figure out why they needed to do that narratively. Why not just show it chronologically?
Well,
because what do we gain?
That, and also, once you've shown us the 33 minutes earlier, you don't need to... You're picking up where you left off. Like, every time it goes back to the 24 minutes earlier, like, we weren't jumping to a different person. We weren't repeating events. We were picking up where the last flashback scene had left off. So we don't need to know, oh, okay, 9 minutes had transpired.
Right. We get it. We understand.
I will say that was probably just to kind of do a little bit of showing off that obviously this was all in post, so maybe not, but the episode was pretty short. It was 38 minutes and 50 seconds. And so the fact that they went back 33 minutes and then it comes back to the present, it is now 33 minutes later.
Yeah.
So these events, quote unquote, took place in real time.
Yes, and I wonder if this was something that was engineered later in post. Is this a Frakesian decision?
Oh, did he direct it?
He directed it.
Okay.
I think that's what happens with these types of shows when they're this linear, is that they hire a director to direct two because it's easier to plan out everything. Because it's not like 2 episodes. It's basically a long movie, these kinds of shows. Right. So it's just easier to have one person do 2 episodes than just doing one.
Sure.
But I think that it seems like another technique to try and move the story along because, well, again, when you think about this episode, not a lot happens chronologically.
No.
There's not a lot of stakes involved.
Right.
I mean, really, they don't even talk to Renee Picard until the end of the episode.
Yeah.
They're kind of just watching her afar. And there's just a lot of conversations. And I guess that's how they were able to inject a little bit of energy into these episodes, and maybe that was a good choice. And it would have been easy to reverse engineer the timings, as you said, in post.
Yeah.
So maybe that explains it, because if the script was this way, why would you do it this way? I mean, there are 2 things that are sort of ostracized as techniques in script writing. The first one is narration, like voiceover. People, for some reason, hate voiceover. It's considered a crutch because you're revealing information artificially as opposed to through the characters.
Right.
And also this, where you're jumping back arbitrarily in time because you want to start your script with something exciting as opposed to just having an exciting script to begin with without time jumps.
I mean, to be fair, having an old guy lying on the streets, like, that's a great way to start an episode. Like, that is super intense and exciting. You're like, oh my gosh, how did we get here? There's an old man lying on the street.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, but I don't know. I don't feel like it adds anything. Does it add any kind of momentum? Because you're just like, 24 minutes. It's just like, I feel the same way in a microcosm of when I realized when they came out with Enterprise in 2001 or whatever, that it was going to be a prequel show.
Right.
I was like, oh, really? We're taking a step backwards? Mm-hmm. After we have all this fun stuff in the Federation to cover that's just happened in Voyager and DS9? We're taking a step back?
Right.
Like, oh.
Well, yeah, and there's no urgency to the flashback or the present in the episode.
Right. It's not Picard holding someone at gunpoint.
Right.
Saying, something totally different where you're like, wow, how do we get here?
Yeah.
He's just he's got his nose is bleeding. By the way, I thought androids were supposed to be super strong. Like, why didn't Picard just pick up the car and throw it away?
I think they said something about it in the first season that he does not.
Oh.
It's literally there's nothing having to do with that body being fake.
He is a perfect analog to how Picard would have been. I guess they did say something like that.
Yeah,
but I don't know. You think they would have built in some safety mechanisms,
right?
You know.
Yep.
Anyway, so that aside, those 34-minute things aside,
Those title cards, yeah.
because you could edit them out and nothing changes.
Right.
Zero.
Right.
Okay, so it starts off with Agnes. There's this little bit of kind of, we got to get into the party, and Agnes is supposed to be infiltrating the security to upload the identity things, why they can't do this remotely. Oh, because they talked about it, the air gap.
Yep. That she took a class in. Yep.
She took a class in. She's like, oh, that was good. So I feel like I missed something here because she's cuffed to a chair 5 feet away from 2 security officers.
Uh-huh.
But she's still having conversations with Picard through her little radio thing.
Right.
Like, did I miss something where they can't hear her? Because she's not like whispering either. She's just talking.
No, she kind of was. She was not talking out loud. She was just kind of whispering to herself.
I don't think she ever whispered.
Okay.
I think that she was...
I've heard it both ways.
Yeah, I mean, but I feel like if you were 5 feet away from someone, even if they're kind of like, yeah, I'm working on it right now, they would like turn around and be like, huh?
Exactly.
What'd you say?
Well, right. There should have been a reaction, and there wasn't. But yes. I thought that everything was in her head until she said something about how, like, you know, if you continue talking, I will destroy you. And Picard's like, what?
That's what I thought, too. I thought at least all the stuff with the Borg Queen was in her head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so the spray, like, I didn't understand why that knocked everybody out except her.
Yeah, that was interesting. Maybe they inoculated her or something like that.
Right. But again, it's one like we are doing heavy lifting there. Like, other than that, again, it's just a magic wand where she pulls it out and she's like,
yeah, why wouldn't you just have like a mini
Dormus
stun gun?
Temporis or something? Right. A mini stun gun. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just have like that tiny little the little handheld ones from Next Generation that we never saw again.
Yeah. Yeah. That would have been great.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that. And I like the Borg Queen snark. I'm really starting to like it.
Yeah, no, I did too. Sorry, I thought you were going to go somewhere else with that. What I didn't like though was that Girardi, you know, the Borg Queen was like, I can help. And Girardi is like, fine. And then suddenly she gets super strong. Like, there was nothing about how Girardi like allowed her a little bit more room and then pushed her back. Like, there was nothing conveyed between the two of them. It was like the Borg Queen was holding that strength from her and then giving it to her just a little bit.
Yeah. I like this dynamic. I feel like they're not doing what I want them to do with it, but I like this kind of thing that she's sort of now haunted. It's very Battlestar Galactica now that they've gotten into it. Like, this is almost a duplication of the Cylons infiltrating one guy in the show. You want me to go into it? I can go into it real quick. Should
no,
we take
you
a
can't.
quick 15 minutes and talk about Battlestar Galactica?
Right. No, if you know, you know. If you don't, you don't.
No, I can make you know. I can make you know.
Yes,
I can just.
But I don't want to know. Like, I have seen enough things like this where I go, oh, okay, that's the trope they're using.
Yeah,
Got it.
It's that thing, right?
Yeah. Q even did it to Picard in the second episode.
Oh, right.
Are you sure this is the thing you want to be doing right now?
Right. Although we don't know if he was actually standing there.
Right.
Because he never comes back.
Right. Yeah. And then Girardi does her thing and saves them at the last minute.
I was wondering how that was going to happen because they were already at the security gate and they're like, this isn't you. What are you talking about? Why would it come up as somebody else, not just like, oh, we don't have this file?
Well, and also, why, like, you clearly want these people to go through. You know, you're like, nope, it's not you. Nope, it's not you. Oh, okay, it's you. All right, go ahead. Like, that doesn't raise any red flags.
It's like, there's something fishy going on here.
Yeah. Actually, this is kind of a flip. I liked the character moments between the Picards. And basically Picard. Like, anytime he interacted with other people, I liked it. I liked him with Picard. I liked him with Picard and Talon. And then everything with the Borg Queen. Like, those were the best moments.
I liked getting a little bit of insight from Picard and Talon, like what Talon is. I mean, she's obviously from the future.
Yeah.
right?
Well, no, she's not.
But why does she have that awesome, like she has a futuristic device?
Yes, because she's a supervisor. She's a watcher.
But what does that mean?
We don't know. It means that she was given that device, and she has spent the last 24 years watching Renee Picard.
But are we doing work on that she was given the device?
Yeah. Yes, but it's not as difficult to do because Gary 7 had that exact same device.
Gary 7?
Yeah. From the episode, the spin-off episode, Annihilation Earth. Was that the name of the episode?
This is not this is not ringing a bell.
It's the callback that they did. Like, she is a watcher and a supervisor. That comes from the original series where they made the spin-off episode because it was the last episode of season 2 where they weren't sure if Star Trek was going to keep going. So Gene Roddenberry had this other script idea, this other show idea. And so if season 3 didn't go on, they could do this spin-off series where there was Gary 7, who was this watcher on modern day Earth, and he had that little device.
Got it. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Because we haven't seen the episode in our classic show.
We have not, no. Sometime in the next 13 years.
Right.
So really quick, just about him and Talon. Like I did like his comment about, he's like, yeah, but the person I know is Romulan, so you are most likely not an ancestor.
Right. But when you look exactly like the person, like that's what I don't like. I understand that when we go back 200 years and it's supposed to be a descendant and it's the same actor, like what they do with Voyager and Janeway all the time.
And Back to the Future. Yeah.
Yeah. I get that. I was like, okay, I understand. They're supposed to be descendants. That's the easiest way to express
or even Brent
that.
Spiner. Right.
Right. Yeah, Brent Spiner looks... That's what I said. We've talked about that already. His iron genetics.
Yep. Actually, this show may be presenting why they always look the same. I just realized. We're going to get to that, but...
Okay. Oh, okay. I did like the moment between Picard and Soon where... Picard is very quickly brought up to speed on everything that Soon knows. Like he goes through this whirlwind of realization of, oh, you look exactly like Data. He's like, hello, Picard.
Yeah.
Oh, you know more than I think you do.
How much do you know?
I've been talking to Q.
A lot.
Oh, yeah, a lot. Like he just goes, Soon just starts listing off all of these things in order of importance. And it's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
But I like they didn't dance around it, and they make him. I mean, I guess it turns out that Soon is sort of a bad dude.
Yeah, which I did not like. But, like, I did not like that he went from a sympathetic villain trying to save his daughter to just a classic hand-wringing villain only for himself and does not care about his child. He cares about his life's work being successful.
And maybe I missed something. I didn't quite understand. So was he creating many daughters?
Yeah.
And she is just another iteration of that? Or was she killing other people for the sake of Kobe? What's her name?
No, this was
Corey.
Based
her
on
name is Corey.
Yeah, based on the dates, like these were all attempts at new life.
But Corey is like in her 20s.
Yeah,
or so.
That's what he was saying. Like this last attempt, this attempt is his last attempt. He's not going to be able to do any others, so it has to work. And so far, it has worked with this one major caveat.
Yeah. So anyway, going back to the party. The party. So they're searching around. They get into the gang gets into the party, and Rio says to somebody, "There's no sign of Q." And I'm trying to figure out why he would know what Q looks like, because we've never really seen a picture of Q, nor do we know if he would ever allow himself to be photographed.
Right.
Unless Picard said, yeah, he's an old guy with a beard. Tell me if you see anybody like that.
It totally narrows it down.
Yeah.
It could also be like just shorthand of saying Picard hasn't seen Q anywhere.
Right.
He says, like, what's going on with your communicator? And she's like, oh, I must have accidentally turned it off, And instead of saying, like, okay, well, Picard gave us a description of Q and we've been looking around for him, but we haven't seen him anywhere. Like, it was just, there's no sign of Q.
Fine. I mean, fine. But, okay, I'm glad you said that about that whole conversation with Agnes. Because I don't know what the motivation is at this point, why she wouldn't tell the rest of the crew that the Borg Queen has infiltrated her mind.
Right.
Somehow. Or that she's been effectively assimilated.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Is there a reason why she's keeping that from people? I hate this kind of thing where one character has this huge secret that is super dangerous that she keeps from the rest of her team.
Right. There's no reason
why?
for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And again, it's an easy enough scene where like you can't tell anyone, because if you do, I will take over. But she also didn't know that she could take over, so there's no reason why. So yeah.
Yeah. And even if she could, you wouldn't be able to do anything without the Borg Queen knowing about it, but just start telling them.
Right.
Or lock yourself in a cage because you can't get out.
Right.
She's not a Borg yet. Maybe she's starting to maybe she's making implants and stuff in her body. You know how they can do that with the nanites?
Yeah.
Or the nanobots, whatever they're called.
Yep. But we don't know what she put in her. Clearly she put her consciousness, but did she do that with nanotechnology, or did she use advanced science and just implant herself in her cerebral cortex or whatever?
Well, she uses her tubules on her face, so I was assuming she's injecting something into her.
Or maybe she's just getting to her brain.
Yeah, I don't know. We don't know.
We don't know.
They go into it.
Right.
It's interesting. I feel like it's at this point the most interesting part.
Their relationship or how she got in there?
Both. The whole Agnes Borg Queen aspect I find the most interesting of season 2 so far. There seems to be a lot that could develop from it in a science fiction way.
Yes. Well, yeah, and that's what's her game plan? Where is she wandering off to?
I don't know. I get this sense that the Borg Queen wants to go. She wants to sow her oats.
Right.
She wants to go party in New York. They're not in New York though. They're in Los Angeles.
Yeah, but that's why she's leaving. She wants to go party in New York.
She wants to go to New York.
Yeah.
She could just beam. I'm sure she could go beam.
Well, yeah, if you can beam from Paris to L.A.
Yeah, no kidding. And I'm assuming they have some sort of remote control over the ship.
Oh,
but anyway,
you know what though? Yeah, maybe not. Well, how are they going to get back to the ship? Nobody's there.
They can remote beam.
Yeah, I guess.
I've seen that before.
I know, but that's with the ship being fully functional.
Well, maybe it will have repaired itself. Sure, it's convenient. It can repair itself these days, right?
Yeah, I mean, using whatever. I wonder what he did with that device. It's.
I think that the whole ship uses that technology.
Where you just have to fake it and it happens. Great.
Yeah, it does it by itself. Because they said a couple of times the ship is repairing itself. It can't do this thing that we want it to do. It can't turn the heat on.
Oh, all right. I don't remember them saying a ship is repairing itself. Okay.
It's like auto or self-repairing. I don't know.
Right.
They haven't gone into it.
Yeah.
But it's from a different timeline, so maybe they would have leaned into that technology. I don't know. So Rafi, everybody's favorite.
Yeah.
She goes all Janeway when she was lecturing Rios about not getting involved with the doctor, like the doctor love interest thing. Because she was doing all the things she was telling Rios not to do.
Yeah. Damaging the timeline. Yep.
Getting involved. Getting
involved,
emotional.
Yep.
Everything.
Well, and regardless of that, they just got him out of the prison cell or the bus a couple hours ago before this party. And then she's saying you've been all smiles since we left the clinic. And it's you haven't seen him since he left the clinic. You are literally saying that because the audience needs this wink and a nod and this catch up reminding us about the doctor who, if you've been binging, you know exactly who she's talking about.
Yeah, if that's really why they had him be all at Twitter about the 21st century, that conversation should not have been with Rios. It should have been with Seven, because they were seeding that with Seven earlier, that how much she loves the 21st century.
Yeah, yeah, so true.
But I guess you're right that they needed to seed or remind everybody that there's this character that we spent a whole episode with, who is a doctor. And I super don't buy that when they say we should get Picard back to the ship after he gets hurt, and Rios says, no, the medical bay is not a real doctor. And I'm like, is it? Is it better than a 21st century doctor who doesn't have super awesome scanning stuff? You're telling me that a ship from the 24th century wouldn't be better equipped to deal with Picard, a fucking android, than a 21st century doctor who was going to try and take blood, right?
Right.
going to try and do exactly what she did, and you're going to have to answer for that.
Yeah. You're a little bit ahead, like, from this scene with Raffi, but
I get worked up though, Jonathan.
I know. But to speak to that, it's so tricky because Rios is kind of the character that I could see him going both ways with that. You know, he was the one who wanted to bring his pistol down, and Agnes was like, no, and he's like, I'll be careful, you know, and she's like, no, you don't understand, like, you cannot bring it down. So like I could see him kind of breaking the rule, not breaking the rules, but kind of doing the things that he wants to, you know, and oh my gosh, here's this sick person and I know a doctor. Like, no, my medical bay won't be nearly as good as a real doctor. We need to take him here. I know a doctor. Let's go there.
Oh, so this was just a ruse so he could go talk to the doctor again?
Yeah, like he needed Picard to be his wingman. Yeah. I will say that they did need to get back to that medical clinic because his communicator is there.
Oh, you were right?
Yeah, they did not pick it up when they were there.
Well, they're stupid.
Well, in fact, they actually had it as the button to the scene break to the act break where it panned down and the communicator was still on the table and Picard was coming through trying to get Rios. So like they made a huge to-do about it still sitting there. So now they are back at the clinic. I would imagine that they're gonna pick it up now that they're there. I hope so. Otherwise, it's gonna be really frustrating that they have to go back there.
Well, they spent a lot of money on the set,
right?
So they need to use it.
Yeah. But to go back to Raffi and Rios talking at the party. There's a scene where she's eyeing the bourbon and then she asks for a club soda. And in the first season, she was shut out by her son and she fell off the bandwagon and like really got into the drinking again. And her son and her grandchild are still alive. She's just not allowed to see them. And then in this season, her surrogate son dies in front of her, in her arms, and she doesn't choose the alcohol. Like,
I agree with you. I totally agree with you, but I'm glad they didn't go there.
Sure.
Right?
That's fine.
I just felt like if there was going to be this side thing of her falling off the wagon
again,
I just couldn't go through it again.
Right.
We'd have to stop the podcast.
But it would also explain the Elnor hallucinations better.
Yes, you're right. I'm kind of on board with the whole Elnor hallucination. I don't know where they're going with it. We get it. We don't need a reminder every single time.
Right. So
every single episode.
So here's the unless there is a deeper explanation to it, having lost someone, it's not that you see them everywhere. It's that you want to share everything with them and you can't. And that's the hard part about it. And I know that that's a little bit harder to convey, but I realize that that's what's rubbing me the wrong way about her seeing Elnor everywhere and thinking that it's him.
What are we saying about her grief? That her grief is making her hallucinate? That she's seeing Elnor everywhere? It's not like he's missing.
Right.
He's just dead. And I would have liked it better if she occasionally said, isn't that right, Elnor? You know, or something like that.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think that it feels like they're forcing this down our throat. And again, I'm still making the prediction that she's going to break from the group in some important way because of her grief.
Yeah.
And it's going to be catastrophic to something for some reason. And it won't be worth it.
Right.
It won't have been worth all of the kind of reiteration.
Yeah. It'll just be
of this whole
headbanging frustration and not, oh, that's what they were leading up to.
Right.
Yeah. It won't be, oh, that's what they were leading up to. It'll be like, oh, that's what they were leading up to?
Yeah. That's what they were leading up to?
Yeah.
So, and then guess what, Jonathan?
What?
There's the whole scene where Agnes starts singing.
Yeah, less than a minute. But man, that spotlight guy knew where to go and what to do.
They all did. I didn't understand what was going on. I thought that they cut the power to the entire place. I was like, oh, that's interesting. What are they doing?
Right. What's
the Borg Queen up to? And it was just a growth moment for Agnes. I guess it was engineered so she would release endorphins, blah, blah, blah. But
I did like that there was a genuine, like the Borg Queen had that plan to get her to have the endorphins so she could take over. Like, you know, I did like that there was a technobabble explanation, specifically using hormones that we're all aware of.
Right. But the ends does not justify the means. What? Yes. I said that correctly.
Yeah.
The ends does not justify the mean. I think what we're getting down to is not just the minutia of what we thought was stupid, but the implausibility of this scenario
Right.
takes me out of it.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. Like,
Right.
why not have her do something ingenuous? What are we coming out on for that word?
Ingenious.
Ingenious?
Yeah, I just listened to it. Ingenuous is naive and gullible. Ingenious is clever.
Oh, well, they think the audience is ingenuine. And say it again. What do they think the audience is? Naive? I will not be made a clown.
No, you do it fine on your own. Well, this has been The Measure of an Episode. We hope you enjoyed our 210 episodes.
But that's the end. That's what it is. Is that
Yeah.
they feel like just because they have someone start singing that this should be enough. And it turned into like a 90210 segment.
Yeah, and it goes back to like the scene. I'm still not sure how I feel about her trying to push the kiss with Rios, but seeing this tail end of the concert, like it kind of gives me a little bit of a better idea that like, maybe that's what she was going for. She was trying to get an emotional rush from Girardi so she could take over her body. And when it didn't work with the kiss, that's when she decided to do the concert.
Well, that's smart. I'll buy that.
Yeah. But again, like that's me doing heavy lifting. I shouldn't have to figure that out on my own.
Well, I mean, I like the idea that if that's true, that was embedded into. We have enough information to make that call, right? That's not an out there call,
Right.
Which I'm fine with. That's smart.
Okay.
And then the episode ends with, how does it end?
With them trying to figure out what Q's purpose is and saying that the only person who's had any experience with Q is Picard, with Seven standing right there.
Oh, so right, but Seven is just a normal person right now. She has no implants, which begs the question. Just as a side note, when they fix all of the timeline, will she still have them, or will they be reinstated, her implants?
Right.
Probably.
That's the question. Like, I wonder how much, when they fix the timeline, is it just going to go back to the way it was, or is it going to be a little Back to the Future-esque where it's a slightly better timeline? Like it makes sense that Elnor would come back because he died in the alternate timeline. So if that didn't happen, then he would be fine.
I hope that in the same way that it will be a better quote unquote timeline, that there will be also a bad consequence.
Right.
I hope there's something like that. That could just be incidental, but don't give us the happy ending. Do something that is a little bit darker.
Right.
Like maybe Data's still there.
So dark.
He's super dark, but he's a bad guy. Lore. Oh, huh?
Yeah.
Because Lore is still alive, right? Is he?
Yeah, I mean, he took off one episode and never came back. Kind of like Sela, I think that was her name. Denise Crosby as the Romulan.
Oh yeah,
the Blondulin. The last thing that I wanted to say was, so she uses the defibrillator. Yeah, defibrillator on.
Yep.
I watched a clip with Michael Scott using a defibrillator, using a hand buzzer, and he was calling it a defibrillator, and so that's throwing me off as to like the actual pronunciation. Because like, is it a defibrillator or is it a defibrillator? Is there
defibrillator?
Okay, so there isn't an R. Okay, good. Yeah, so the sparks start going. His heart starts pumping, and she goes, "What the hell is up with this guy?" Like, I've used a defibrillator many, many times. It's never done that before, and it's like, why are you associating it to the person? Like, this happens in shows all the time where they make this weird connection that I feel like in real life would not happen.
In what sense? You mean she's blaming Picard?
Yeah, she's blaming Picard for the defibrillator sparking.
Well, I don't understand why. First of all, why would they bring him to a doctor when they know he is not a human? Right. He's not even organic.
Yeah. Well, and she even says like, how many transplants has he had? And somebody's like, all of them.
All of them.
Yeah.
And by the way, Picard is ostensibly about to die because his heart rate is bad. Why does he have a heart? Does Data have a heart? Do all androids have hearts?
No, remember they said this android body is completely indistinguishable from a human's.
They said that?
Not in this episode. They said it when he got it at the end of season 1.
Oh. Well, obviously it's very distinguishable from a human body because it does force lightning whenever you try and defibrillate it.
Right. Yeah.
The call is just such a bad call to go to a regular 21st century doctor.
Right.
When you have an android. Felt like all of them are better qualified to look at Picard than this person is.
Yeah.
The doctor.
Exactly.
I was hoping that we'd get a little bit more of the EMH from Rios' ship, but I guess this is not Rios' ship. This is the ship from the alternate timeline. So, too bad for Paul.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. Oh.
But even I would suspect that a timeline based on military conquest, as it were, you would want some sort of medical. Your medical stuff would be just as advanced, if not more advanced.
Yeah, it just wouldn't be Rios' EMH.
Right. It would be a different EMH.
Yeah.
They would have it, is my point. It would be there.
Right.
So mad. So what did you think about this episode? Were you entertained or were you not entertained?
Oh, I was entertained kind of for the opposite reasons from the previous episodes. Like the previous episodes, I wanted to see what happened next. I didn't really care about the characters. This time around, I enjoyed what was happening with the characters, but the story plot just moved along so slow that, I'm just looking forward to... They finally got to an interesting point with Agnes, because that's really the only thing that's interesting. Like, they're now going to try to go into Picard's brain, which, you're right about the ingenuity, and there's no sci-fi. Like, all of this is magic.
Yeah.
And it's irritating.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I liked the breadcrumbs we got about what's her name? Paladin?
Corey?
No, the Watcher.
Oh, Talon?
Talon. I'm enjoying that kind of aspect. I feel like Picard, being the curious person that he is, would have a lot more questions for her as to what the hell she's talking about.
Oh, speaking of questions, so Picard has told her, we just came back from a horrible future timeline because Picard did not go on the Europa expedition. And they're standing there watching her, and Talon goes, "Do you think maybe she isn't ready? Like she shouldn't go?" And Picard says something like, I think you're afraid to let her go, but it's kind of like, bitch, no, she has to go.
I know. We've been over this.
Right.
We already told you.
Yeah. It was just such a weird question at such a weird time. Like,
the whole conceit is that we're trying to make sure that Renee Picard actually does go on the mission.
Right.
In spite of all of Q's machinations of trying to convince her not to. Can't you just, as Q... I mean, his powers have only recently been taken from him somehow. So why can't he just have snapped his fingers and make it not so? Right. Why is he... What's going on? I want a little bit more information about what's going on. It feels like they're not withholding it for the sake of drama and the narrative. It feels like they're withholding it because it may not be as concentrated or interesting of a plot line as we think it is. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen with Q. They're kind of just giving us little bits. Like, why wouldn't he be there?
Right.
Why send Soong to do all this dirty work?
Right.
Q can drive a car. Why didn't Q run over Picard?
Right. Yeah.
I guess I'm failing to see the connection between Q conscripting Soong to do his quote-unquote dirty work and Q having brought Picard back in the first place. Or he didn't bring him back, but put him in a scenario that he could.
Well, right. This is the part that I'm not understanding. Like, why did Q transfer Picard over to this alternate timeline, and then Picard figured out how to travel back in time? Yeah, like in the first episode, their ship blew up, and then he woke up in his
mansion.
Well, yeah, like his glass room, whatever. I forget
his glass room. You mean his? It was outside, wasn't he? Wasn't he outside?
No, he's in that. He's in that room that has like plants inside, and then it's got glass all over it. It's not a greenhouse. At least I don't think it is.
The arbitrarium.
The arboretum.
Where arboretum. No. I like arbitrarium.
Right. It's just a room that maybe you have, maybe you don't. Doesn't really do anything.
Well, this whole episode takes place in
the arbitrarium. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I still don't understand what his game plan is, because you're right. Like, even without his powers, he could still do everything that Sung is doing for him. But also, like, he sent Picard over to this timeline saying, like, what? There's nothing you can do to stop me? And then Picard goes back in time, and Q's like, oh, shit. And then meets up with Sung and gives him this technology and says, like, okay, but I need you to do this for me.
Yeah, what's going on?
Right.
Well, this whole season has been prefaced that the test that humanity is undergoing by the Q is still undergoing. But that doesn't seem to be the case, because Picard, at a certain point, figures out that there's something wrong with Q. So, obviously, this is not a test for humanity. That must be not true. So what else is going on?
Right. I mean, I hope that we are told, and I hope that we find out, but I don't know.
Well, and if it's not a test, why bring back Picard? Or rather, I should say, why make Picard aware that he is transversed into another timeline?
Right.
Why all the pageantry?
Right.
I'm waiting for an answer.
I noticed.
I don't know. We got very little information in this episode.
Yeah.
Very little.
Yeah.
About anything. I mean, I guess the most we got, the big drops were shoe drops. The shoe, the other shoe was dropped, and it was about Adam Sung and Corey.
Right.
Which still doesn't seem relevant. And I guess Dr. Adam Sung went out and drank after he thought he murdered Picard, and then came home drunk and started doing the drunk thing to Corey.
See, I didn't think he was drunk. Like, he wasn't slurring his speech. I felt like he was just kind of overwhelmed by his
failure.
Yeah, his failure.
Yeah,
the failure of his experiment, and the fact that he was willing to kill someone to make it happen.
The most poignant moment for me was when Sung confronts Picard at the party.
Yeah.
I felt like, oh, here's a moment. Like, this is actually maybe it's a little fan servicey. It's like, Data? And he's like, huh?
Right, you've said that twice. Did he say that? I don't remember him saying that.
No.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
Every time you see somebody that looks like Data, because it seems to happen a lot.
Right. He's just used to it by now.
I know, he should be used to it.
Yeah.
I've seen this before.
Right.
Who are you?
What Sung are you?
Yeah. Won't fool me again.
Yeah.
I just liked that moment because I think Stewart did a really good job without saying anything,
right?
Or saying very little in terms of that realization. We got it because because this is the first time he's seen Sung.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I liked all of the character moments. Anything with Picard, and anything with the Borg Queen, were great. It was just this episode. It's like, what is happening? And nothing really happens other than the Borg Queen took over Girardi, and Picard got hit by a car.
Right. It was kind of a transitory episode, a bridge episode to get us from one big plot point to another.
Right, which again goes back to your point. Like, are there now 10 episode seasons and you can't adjust that? Because, like, this episode could have been condensed to, I mean, I guess it depends on whether or not there's another slow episode, but these elements could have been put into other episodes and just made it a 9-episode season.
Yeah. I mean, the whole party could have taken place over the course of 5 minutes.
Right.
It's really funny when Picard is talking to Sung, and your friend Q has visited me. And Picard's like, you have no idea what you're dealing with. And then Sung's like, well, you have no idea what you're dealing with. They just get into that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's like, he's not my friend. He's like, I don't care. Like, you just need to stay out of my way. And he's like, well, right, but you need to stay out of my way.
You're right. Maybe it wasn't as good of a... I just like that first moment.
Yeah.
When Picard sees Sung. And it's just, oh. Like, there's this that escalation of realization.
Right.
I thought was really entertaining for me, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Sung doesn't know what Q is.
Right.
Or who Q is.
Well, yeah, he doesn't know he's omnipotent at all. He assumes at best that he is just kind of a private investor and brilliant scientist type thing.
So going back to the scene where they meet at the coffee shop or whatever, and Q says, in 17 seconds you're going to sit down.
Right.
Is that because, obviously he doesn't have his powers.
Well, right. I mean, again, we don't know. So he
doesn't seem to have outward.
Right. Yeah, like maybe he's still omniscient, he's just not omnipotent.
If I'm going to maintain that he like the Next Gen episode where he maintains his knowledge.
Right.
He just doesn't maintain the ability to affect matter and time.
Yeah.
That he wouldn't need Soong anyway. So there's something else going on here. But the fact that he says in 17 seconds you're going to sit down makes me think he still is in some way operating as a Q.
Well, right. But see,
otherwise, why would he say that? Why would he say 17 seconds? And then like, I was right there, right on the dot.
Right, to the tick, yeah. That's the thing, you know, again, it's one of those things where it's like, this is how powerful Q is, but that means he knows all the timelines, even the ones he influences. So, you know, because if he hadn't been there was no reason for Soong to even come to the cafe.
There's nothing that's lining up in terms of, I mean, maybe we're just not being smart enough in trying to predict with all the information that we have. We'd be shitty Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah. We're Watson, basically. We're looking at all this and going, but I don't understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, again, I hope that all of this does fall into place in a way that requires little to no heavy lifting on our part. And we don't just sit here and go, yep, they missed this, they missed this, they missed this. Like,
we're waiting for all of these things that they're seeding to pay off. And when they don't, we're going to be really mad.
Right. I mean, this feels very much like Lost at this point, where we are asking questions that I have been burned by Lost, so I'm assuming that we will not get the answers in the best way possible. And also by season 1, you know, season 1 was just kind of like they literally gave him a magic wand at the end and said, here's how you fix all your problems.
Although in season 1's defense, they didn't really have a lot of unanswered questions to the level that they do here, where they're weaving this web of seemingly very intricate plot points that all should come together at the end,
right?
To some extent. That the first season wasn't really like that.
That's true. That's true.
It was just sort of an adventure.
Yeah, it was a MacGuffin that they were after. Right.
I mean, I like the second season better so far.
Oh, for sure.
But I don't. I mean, they're setting me up to fail, I feel like.
Right. I know. Well, we've got 4 more episodes. Yeah, 4 more episodes. They still could easily pull this together.
Yeah. I mean, maybe this is all just prelude to a big kind of science fiction jaunt.
Right. I'm going to guess that the next 2 episodes are now going to, like, the next episode we're going to find out more about Q, probably the stuff that we already know because we've watched Next Generation. Like, there's nothing that Picard is going to say about Q that we haven't seen.
They might invoke how the Q were in trouble last time we saw them in Voyager. There was all
but Picard
of this,
doesn't know that.
All of this might be a consequence of all of that, even if Picard doesn't know that. And we'll have to be brought up to speed. So maybe...
Okay, so you saying that, I hope that they go into his brain, they find out stuff about Q, they bring it out, and then Seven actually contributes her knowledge of the Q for them to piece something together about what's happening with Q, and maybe they can figure out what he's actually doing and what his plan is. There's the ingenuity.
Well, Seven wasn't even in this episode. I mean, she was in it, but she was in the background chatting up people.
She was a wallflower. Yeah, she was background the whole time.
It was terrible.
Yeah. See, and again, like, super irritated by her happy attitude until she's looking at her at a distance. And she's like, she looks lighter now that she doesn't have that weight of the Borg to carry. Like, why not tell her that? Like, why are you being such a bitch to her?
We still know very little about why they broke up. I guess No, we don't really know why they broke up.
They didn't break up.
I thought they hadn't seen each other for like 1.5 years or something like that.
Oh, but I assumed it was just because of like their travels. I'm pretty sure it was just because of their travels. And that's why Ruffy was so upset that she was married to a guy.
Right, was she blamed on her?
Right.
Okay, well, are we done?
I think so. I mean, until the next
episode,
done. Yeah.
So thank you for listening. If you like to hear us talk, we also do another show called TheMeasureOfAnEpisode, Star Trek edition. It's similar to this show, where we talk about all the classic Trek. We randomize each episode, or we pick one at random, rather.
Smattering of everything.
Right. We watch all the way from the original series to Enterprise, and we determine whether or not it is genuine Star Trek and not just television.
Yeah.
We have a very precise criteria.
Yep.
Yeah, very scientific
super objective. And it is. And we've said this a couple times, but there are episodes that we love that aren't proper Star Trek, and there are episodes that we don't like that are proper Star Trek.
Yeah, this is not just a love fest for Star Trek. Like all those other Star Trek podcasts you listen to.
That's right.
This is different.
Yes. Ours is objectively the best.
Yeah. And objectively the most scientific. What?
You should go check it out. At least listen to the first 5 minutes of any episode. You'll see what we're talking about.
I will.
Good.
Oh, you were talking to the... I see.
But no.
I've been Paul.
I've been Jonathan. Dang it.
And this has been the measure... No.
Damn it.
It's your turn. And this has been the measure of an episode.
Who?
Star Trek Edition, Picard Edition, Season 2 Edition, Episode 6.
Edition.
Yeah.
Who? Right. I mean, there's really only Admiral Picard and Captain Rios.
You could do... you could do the Borg Queen. Not really impressionable. Right? She's kind of leading the way. She's the captain right now of Agnes.
Right. But you already knew that.